This is a short demonstration video talking about bandsaw machine safety. I have here today to work with a Forrest manufacturing model 236 vertical blade traveling table bandsaw. I primarily want to talk about the motor, but I've got a couple other features I'd like to point out here. First off, this is a production machine, but it's not complete. And as it's sitting here right now, it's not safe to use. The big points are wheel cabinets open. Please always lock down your wheel cabinets before operating the machine. I'm not doing that, and I'll show you why in a minute. Also, this machine does not have its blade guides or the upper blade guard installed. This is an inventory machine, and as soon as we know what customer is getting it and which type of guides they want, we'll install them. As an inventory unit, not going to the public, we've got those off. But that makes it great to explain or illustrate my next point. All Forrest bandsaws, with a very few special exceptions, use a brake motor. Blade drive motor is mounted underneath the table here. You can't see it. It looks like a motor. But the fun part is the motor has an integrated brake. So when I start this machine up, the brake releases. It's what's called a spring apply magnetic release brake. When the motor gets voltage, that energizes an electromagnetic coil, releases the brake, allows the machine to spin freely. When I turn off the machine, or we have a power outage or whatever, voltage to the motor is cut off, the electromagnet releases, springs clamp down on the brake plates and stop the blade very quickly. The point of this is, if you've ever worked with a smaller, less expensive bandsaw, they generally do not have a brake motor. Some will have a foot brake, basically a big lever you stomp on to slow the thing down. But if you don't do something to stop the blade after you push stop, you've got this blade that's slowly spinning down, possibly very quietly or even silently. So you might be making a cut, you hit the saw stop, you reach in to grab the piece you just cut, you don't hear the blade running, you don't think it's running, and boop, you're going to the emergency room to get your thumb reattached. Please don't do that. To help prevent that kind of accident, we use a brake motor. You start it, starts up pretty much instantly, just like you expect, and when you stop it, it stops just about instantly. I'm going to illustrate. So to help, I'm going to leave this cabinet open. I can zoom in a bit, but you can't really see the blade if it's moving or not on this video. But you can see this big orange wheel, whether it's running or not. So again, just to emphasize, this machine here as set up is not safe for a typical operator. I'm just doing this to illustrate. Always make sure your doors are closed. Always make sure you have proper blade guides installed and adjusted correctly. Make sure you have the upper guide. Do as I say, not as I do, sorry. So this machine has a magnetic starter. This is another safety feature I should go ahead and mention here. Magnetic starter. This works again with electromagnetic coil. If I push the start button, the machine starts up. I hit stop, it stops. If, however, I hit start and then the building loses power, the machine will stop, but when the power comes back on, it will not automatically restart. Contrast this to just say a plain old light switch. If you turn the light switch on, machine starts running, you lose power, the machine stops, power comes back on. If that switch is still in the on position, the machine comes back on, possibly unexpectedly. We don't want that. So anytime the machine is off, we want it to stay off unless the operator does something to turn it on. We don't want it to just come on its own because power went off and on. Enough talking. So start it, stop it. Second and a half, maybe 2 seconds. I'll zoom in a little bit on that for you so you can get the idea a little more clearly. Short version is pretty quick. Here, I'll adjust this a bit better. So start and stop. Second, maybe second and a half. So the next question you're going to ask is, can I start and stop the machine with every cut? And I've had customers do this. They want to have maybe a foot pedal down here, Stomp the pedal, the machine spins up, you make your cut. Release the foot pedal, the machine stops. And there is some appeal to that. It can be set up, but it's hard. Here's what happens. The electric motor down there, when it first starts up, it draws a lot of amps and makes a lot of heat. Once it hits steady state, it runs a little cooler and it's fine. But if you start and stop the machine over and over again, the machine builds up a lot of heat, and you'll basically cook the machine, cook the motor. Also, you'll wear out the brake friction material more quickly, but friction material is cheap to replace. Brake motors are not. So the manufacturer, Baldor Motors, recommends a maximum of 3 start-stop cycles every 2 minutes. So if you were trying to start-stop between every cut, that would easily exceed 3 per 2 minutes and cook your motor. There are ways for considerable amounts of money to buy high duty motors and clutch brakes and other ways to get there. Generally though, what we do is we have our work laid out, we start the saw, we make our cuts, then we stop our saw and clean up our work. We don't try to start-stop between every cut. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us or email us here at Forrest Manufacturing, and I appreciate your watching. Goodbye.